Yeah, right. Okay, and then I'll just inch my way out. Sarah, carrot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone pronounces my name incorrectly, so I always make sure I get it right. Sometimes
Megan.
Yeah.
Megan.
All good to go. Well, good morning, everyone. Wonderful to be at Foodbank today with the CEO of Foodbank, Sarah, and the team here. This is an incredible organisation that helps families across Queensland. We've been really pleased to be able to provide this organisation with $200,000 to purchase a new vehicle so that they can reach even more Queenslanders in need. But today we're announcing even more funding, up to $2 million for food rescue organisations to help them reach even more people, to help with that cost of living pressure that we know so many Australians are facing at the moment. Food waste is a massive issue here in this country. In fact, in Queensland alone, there's about 3 million tonnes of food waste, good food, that goes to waste every year. That's around $3,000 of wasted money that Queenslanders are spending on food that's ending up in landfill. We want to change that. We'd ideally like people to be only purchasing what they need, but in those circumstances where people are purchasing more than they need, or organisations, of course, are accumulating some of that product that ends up going to landfill, we want to divert that to organisations that can provide that food to people who are doing it tough. That's why organisations like Foodbank, like many of the other food rescue organisations across the state, are so important. This is important not only so that we can reduce the amount of waste that goes to landfill, help Queenslanders in need, but it's also really important for our environment. We know that when food and garden organic waste ends up in landfill, it creates really harmful methane emissions as well. So the more that we can drive this waste away from landfill to Queenslanders in need, or even drive down the production of these products that are ending up in waste, is much better for our environment. I might hand over to Sarah now and then take other questions on this particular grant. Thanks, Sarah.
This is a really welcome announcement. Thank you, Minister. Since before the pandemic, Foodbank Queensland have found that we are helping over 50% more people every week. And in this year alone, we've helped provide additional food to 67 of our over 300 member charities. It's difficult times. There's a lot of fantastic, nutritious, high quality food that is available to be rescued. It's an absolute tragedy if that ends up in landfill, and we're really looking forward to the opportunity to be able to divert more of that to people who are experiencing hunger.
Who are the types of organisations that you work with and that you provide?
So we have a range of organisations. They are anything from a small charity led only by volunteers that might be working in the homelessness space, through to really large organisations who are household names. So a very broad range, and over 300 across Queensland.
What does that process look like? Is it donating huge amounts of food that they then absorb? How does that work?
So our members actually place orders with us for the product that they need. Some of our members have enormous trucks that they come here to collect food with, and they often do that on a daily basis. So members just access the ingredients that we've got, and they do that by responding to the needs of their local communities.
What are the areas of need that you see right now that you'll be needing in the next 6 to 12 months?
Look, I think that the face of who's hungry has changed. So we're certainly seeing groups of people that we've seen before. So people who are fleeing from domestic and family violence, people who are experiencing homelessness or, a crisis around their accommodation. But we're seeing people who are, in employment, but just on very low incomes. And of course, the food budget is really the only flexible part of the budget that people have. So when times get tough, it's the food budget that shrinks.
Where do you get your food donations from primarily?
So Foodbank are really fortunate to have a network of donors throughout Queensland and access to a network throughout the country through the other food banks in the country. So the major retailers, we have relationships direct with growers and manufacturers as well. So we are retrieving food by the truckload.
Are you getting enough, or sometimes we're hearing about food prices increasing because crops have done poorly? Does that then impact what you can get?
Absolutely. So we're very much operating on a surprise chain here, and we are at the mercy of whatever is happening out there in industry. So if our growers are having a tough time, then we will get less, from their donations. So it's very variable. When there are gluts of things, we will experience the benefit of that. We are expecting this year, normally we freight fresh fruit and vegetables from the southern states when our Queensland growing seasons are over. We're expecting that to be a very difficult thing to do this year because of the floods that are happening at the moment.
Is there any data? Do you get provided with any data or forecasting of what you will need in the coming year? Like how bad it might actually get?
Look, it is difficult to predict that. We stay in close connection with our members, and they are telling us on a daily and weekly basis what their needs are and what the trends are that they're seeing.
How many people roughly are you helping at the moment?
Look, so we're helping 328 charities on a weekly basis, and look, it works out to be a bit over 200,000 people a month that they are assisting out in their local communities. Yes, well, I think we're probably going to look at helping our infrastructure. So trucks are always very helpful for us. They're big, expensive purchases and hard to replace. And the more trucks we have, the more we can put them to work to collect food that's available. Also, if you've got trucks and food on trucks, you need forklifts to get the food off. So we'll be looking at, we've got some very old forklifts that are due for replacement soon. So we'll be looking at replacing some of those. Yes, we've absolutely seen an increase in our costs this year, particularly in the costs of food and freight. So whilst food is donated to us, often we actually have to freight it here and pay for that freight. So I was just saying to the Minister before that we've already, stretched our freight budget for this year just because of the costs. And we also do purchase some food. We use some of our relationships to get very good prices on staple items like pasta, rice, canned tomatoes. We've also been hit with the rising cost of food prices with that food as well.
If you weren't here, would people be going hungry? How many people?
Look, I think it's fantastic that there are organisations like Foodbank Queensland to provide a safety net to Queenslanders who are hungry. If we weren't here, I don't even know if I can contemplate the thought of what would happen to those people. Certainly be a lot of people in a lot of distress. Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions on this or anything else?
Minister, we're 2 years out from the election,
Yep.
halfway of the term. What are the key things that the government has to get right in the next 2 years?
Yeah, look, there are a lot of pressures on Queenslanders and Australians right now with the cost of living and inflation pressures we know everyone is experiencing. Of course, just last month we announced the biggest energy and jobs plan, which will deliver Australia's largest renewable energy supergrid, creating over 100,000 clean energy jobs. We of course know there's been pressure on our hospitals, particularly after COVID. Again, that's why we are investing significantly in the expansion of our existing hospitals, delivering 3 new hospitals and expanding our frontline health staff workforce, as well as delivering more funding for mental health. We know that lots of Queenslanders, particularly post-COVID, are experiencing mental health, and we need to make sure the support services are in place there as well. Of course, we know that also housing is a really big pressure for people at the moment, and of course we've acknowledged that by hosting a housing summit. There was a lot of really valuable conversations that were taking place there, and of course we also announced a further $1 billion on top of what was already a record spend in housing. We know there are many pressures, and that's why we all collectively need to be working together on some of these big issues facing the country, and it's really wonderful to be working cooperatively with a new federal government who I think really does acknowledge some of these challenges and wants to work with us.
Are there any areas you think the government needs to pick their feet up and pick their socks up rather?
Oh, well, we know, of course, there's a lot of pressures on cost of living at the moment. That's why today we're announcing funding for food rescue organisations to help Queenslanders in need. We need to make sure that people know what support is available. That's why we announced yesterday a new website so that people know that there is access to billions of dollars of concessions and rebates available. We'll keep listening to the views of Queenslanders. We'll find out what the pressures are and trying to address those very important issues. I think that's why What we've done over the last 2 terms of government is listen to Queenslanders and respond, and that's what people expect of government.
Are you worried the sports betting agencies are putting the LNP ahead at this stage? You know, we're only 2 years out. Are you worried at the prospect of that?
Well, look, you know, the LNP have been focusing on personal attacks and have no policy. You know, they weren't upfront with Queenslanders before the previous election when they sacked 4,400 health staff, when they tried to privatise energy assets, and they ripped money out of wonderful community organisations, organisations like Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Health Services, Cerebral Palsy League, a whole range of organisations that are really, really important. I think Queenslanders know what political party supports them, whether it be about investing in healthcare, unlike the opposition who sacked a whole lot of frontline health workers. So, you know, I'm confident that Queenslanders will always look at what governments have delivered, what they're promising at the next election, and who they can ultimately trust.
What battles are you facing on the Gold Coast?
Look, on the Gold Coast, there's, of course, the same issues I think that everyone is facing in terms of particularly cost of living. People are feeling the pressures at the moment, and that's why we're investing heavily in trying to unlock more housing supply, particularly delivering more public housing. In my electorate, I know what we've done is actually demolished 2 bigger homes, and we're delivering more apartments because we're seeing a different type of person needing social and affordable housing now. So, you know, the feeling on the Gold Coast is similar to a whole range of other places, and that's why we're responding to those issues, whether it be healthcare, mental health, housing, cost of living. And I think people also want to see action in the environment. And as the Environment Minister, I'm really, really pleased to be progressing a whole lot of significant reform. Not only in the waste sector, we've got a $1.1 billion recycling and jobs fund. That is a fund that is delivering grants like the Food Rescue grant that we have here today, but we're also growing our national park estate so we can protect even more habitat. We know Queensland has the most biodiversity of any state in the country, and it's really important that we protect that, and we're taking real and meaningful action on climate change and trying to deliver cheaper and cleaner energy for Queenslanders.
Will Annastacia Palaszczuk be the leader at the next election?
The Premier has indicated that she will be, and of course she has our support.
Do you have every reason to believe that she will be there come the next election?
Yes, I absolutely do. Excellent. Any other questions? Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.